Hi there YouTubers, welcome to our act of supremacy. And don't worry, we haven't been infiltrated by some form of anarcho-fascist organisation. This vlog is actually about the act of supremacy. I wonder why we have to do that sort of thing when we make films. This week we are visiting a wild, remote, some might say spooky place on the northwest coast. It's a particular favourite spot of mine. We're going to look at the history, obviously, and we're also going to consider what lessons we might learn from it in order to deal with our own modern day predicaments. And I do apologise if I'm a bit groggy and ill-tempered this week, but I'm on the wagon, basically. The missus has told me this week that I look terrible, basically, and that apparently I need Botox all over. So I'm on the wagon for a bit. As we head to our destination for the investigation, there's something quite interesting that I want to show you over here. But I've also noticed, I don't know if you'll be able to see behind me up there, we have company. There are cows. Now, I've seen a fellow YouTuber having some problems with these recently, so I'm hoping we're going to be okay. Of course, they may actually be subscribers, in which case I'm sure we'll be fine. But anyhow, let's go and have a quick look at this. Here it is. The sea defences here seem to be made out of very old stone. You've got these lovely sort of yellowy ones, these white ones which I suspect have been bleached by the sea, and then up the top there are these lovely red sandstones. So I wonder where they found this plentiful supply of old stone when they were building these defences. Oh Lord. I give you Cockersand Abbey. Established in 1184 as a hospital, becoming an abbey in 1192. St Mary's in the Marsh. We're on a raised area of ground here, but all around it then was undrained marshland. Now, we'll take Time Team on and perhaps try and put some sort of graphic behind me here to show the extent and the scale of the abbey that once stood here. As you can see, all that survives is the chapter house, and that was adopted by the Dalton family and used as a mausoleum in the 18th and 19th century, and that's why it's still here. So the big question is, what happened to this whopping great big abbey? Well, I'll tell you what happened, or perhaps it's more a case of who happened. It fell victim to everybody's favourite rotund, multi-marrying King of England, Henry VIII. It was dissolved in 1539, quickly plundered for all of its wealth. Everything was taken away for the benefit of the state. And it has just gradually disappeared into the ground with just the chapter house remaining. There was an event here in the 18th century. They actually found somewhere near here on the marshes two Romano-British statuettes, so something for the Roman gazetteers there. And I think they fell into the ownership of our good friend William Stookley. Very few people come here nowadays, the occasional walker. Oh, and you do get YouTubers turning up sometimes with those spirit box apps on their phones where they listen to crazy screeching sounds and claim to hear the voices of friars. But I'm absolutely certain there are no ghosts here because ghosts aren't real. I doubt you can make that out, but there's loads of humps and bumps there where walls and cloisters and aisles and the likes all once stood. It remains a wild and remote place. There's very few houses nearby. There is this old derelict farm over here, which looks like the sort of place you'd expect to see zombies coming out of it. I'm going to have to get a move on, guys, because the car park that I'm in shuts at dusk and I don't want to get locked in. So Cockersand Abbey was one of 900 religious establishments that was effectively asset stripped. This was all part of something called the Reformation. That sounds quite boring, doesn't it? But it was interesting. It wasn't just in England. Across Western Europe, this was happening. Basically, papal authority was giving way to the power of the individual monarch states. Interestingly, and rather tellingly perhaps, the dissolution of the religious establishments in other European countries had massive popular support. The sense of revolution, the people seizing power from these institutions, organisations that had controlled them for so long. Things were a little bit different in England. In good old England, Joe Public wasn't really that bothered about this. There was no revolutionary zeal here. But Henry VIII just cracked on with the dissolution, seizing all of those assets, basically to fund wars. Seizing all the assets of the religious establishments certainly got Henry VIII and Cromwell and people like that out of a hole. And it's got me thinking about the situation that we're in today. I don't want to get all political here, this is not that sort of channel, but it is a fact that if you look at the state of Britain today, we are absolutely up to our eyes in debt. So maybe we need some form of modern day 21st century reformation and associated dissolution. I'm thinking of something like we dissolve online shopping. Just think of the money that we could unlock to deal with our problems if the state just seized everything that belongs to Amazon. Or what about the supermarkets? Or Richard Branson, we could dissolve him. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about my ideas for a 21st century reformation. And of course, like and subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Not worried about the ending because they're always fine on the coastal catalogue. And if you're concerned about what I mentioned earlier and the missus putting me on the wagon, don't worry, she never watches these vlogs. Cheers.